For those of you who have been through our training at My Practice, My Business, you know that we talk about having reflections, or military calls that after action reports, with all the things that you do in dentistry. They're really good to have. Reflections are great to have at the end of the week and at your team meetings each month. Well, Tracy and I have had a reflection over the offices we've trained for the last year, and we've noticed that there's a category that we've developed. And that category is that there are task managers versus task thinkers. And there's a big difference between the two, and both are correct and both are needed. We begin our podcast right there.
Computers are live, mixer is up, levels are good. Equalizer is good, ready channels 1 and 2. Mic is live in 3, 2, 1, roll it. Welcome listeners to the My Practice, My Business podcast, where we teach dentists and their teams how to reclaim forgotten profitability in dentistry with our clinical business of dentistry training. And now, the host of our show, the clinical director at My Practice, My Business, Dr. Rob Thorup.
So I'm really excited today because I've got my sweetheart Tracy with us, and we're going to talk about some things that I think are going to really resonate and just pierce the core of your soul, your heart, your brain. We're going to have some fun today. When I talk about task managers versus task thinkers, I want you to think about this. Office managers and docs, we're all task managers. We manage tasks. We're trained to think about different dental procedures, and we have algorithms to follow. And it's really interesting that we're able to manage those tasks really well. OMs are trained to manage the tasks of insurance companies, dealing with patients, et cetera, et cetera. But what about task thinkers? How can we expand task thinking? Well, this hit me like a ton of bricks when my professor, Dr. Eddie Hayashida out there at UOP, when we graduated from school, he said, well, guys, you know just enough to be dangerous now, but let me share with you what else you know. You've been educated to solve problems. You've got enough education that you should be able to solve a problem, even if that means referring the patient out because you can't solve the problem. And I thought about that a lot. I thought about what is it that differentiates task managers from task thinkers? And it truly is knowledge base, whether that's a degree or the School of Hard Knocks. We came across an office manager this past week, that she does tasks like very, very well. She is like that person that you want in your office that manages tasks, and then she also is a task thinker because she problem solves things also. The interesting thing to me is it's like if she would have had the knowledge base before we trained them, she would have been able to, she'd have been light years ahead of us. She would have had the ability to do all the things and more probably that we train here at My Practice, My Business. That's what I gleaned from her. That was my thoughts and feelings about watching her learn and do the things that we were teaching. I want to go to something that's really important though. Many, many times I hear doctors talk about, I don't want to be driven by price. I do not want a dental practice that's driven by price. I went into this to provide dental care for patients. And yet we all own businesses, don't we? It's kind of like an oxymoron. You can't have one if you don't have the other. I loved it when Ben Shapiro talked about affordability, universality, and quality in universal health care. You can have two at best. You can't have all three. And in dentistry, we are insurance driven. And so what we're battling all the time is affordability and quality. Now, universality will happen if you take Medicare, Medicaid. Everybody can, hopefully can have the opportunity to have some form of dentistry completed on them. But when you talk about being in private practice, affordability and quality are two things that have to balance each other. If you want high quality, you can't have what would be considered affordability. There's a premium to pay for that quality. But like we teach here at MPMB, give the patient choice. That's what it should be. And patients should be given choice. Well, I want you guys to know, I want to go back to task managing versus task thinking. As dentists, we are also, we're trained in dentistry, so we're able to have, curveballs thrown at us, and we're able to think through those curveballs when patients come in. And the more we practice and the more we see, the better we are at solving problems. But when it comes to the business of dentistry, more specifically the clinical business of dentistry, we're not trained in that area. But I want to share with you, you don't have to have a degree in business to be trained. You can also learn from the School of Hard Knocks, but that also means getting on Google Docs, not Google Docs, like getting on Google, my doctor friends, and being able to pull up courses or to take courses in business accounting, business finance, learning about business in your spare time. And you all have spare time. Because I was grateful for my dad, and many of you know I worked for my dad at 9 years of age. Back then, child labor laws didn't exist. At least I didn't know that they did. And I was so happy to make $5 a day working my guts out for my dad. He was a very smart businessman. Anyway, so I took and I learned business from him at the battery shop. I learned about wholesale, retail, and list pricing and profit margins. And we were a wholesale distributor to large corporations, everything from the city corporations to big businesses, construction companies. But we also sold retail to the public, and those two prices were not the same. And my dad taught me about these types of business principles all throughout my life, and I just didn't ignore them. I wasn't a task manager working on cars and big equipment and all the way down to motorcycles. I wasn't just running the tasks. I was learning the business because it really excited me about learning business. So when it came to being a task thinker, thinking outside of the box, that was something that I really enjoyed. I loved business. And that takes us to part two of this, and that is back in 1991, when I wanted to use a more expensive crown product instead of the baseline all porcelain crown that I was getting. I wanted to use these crowns that were $200 a unit versus $75, and which meant I had to make that phone call to Blue Cross Blue Shield. I had to think out of the box. I was a task thinker, and I wanted to solve this problem. So I called him. Hey, can I use these more expensive crowns? Charge the patient more. And Mary gets on the phone with me, and she goes, absolutely you can. If you'd read your contract, page 4, bottom paragraph. That's a whole nother discussion, which we've had in the past, and which we train on at MPMB here. So it was like I was able to think through that because of my business training. But there's the inherent problem. How many docs have read through the contracts, not just read through the contracts that they have in the insurances and the rules and regulations, but actually can read them and understand them? Because they are difficult to understand. But do we take the time to educate and learn? See, docs aren't stupid, right? Y'all made it to dental school. You didn't get in there by haphazard chance, did you? You earned it. You worked hard. You learned. Well, it's time to learn the clinical business of dentistry too. And that's why I brought my sweetheart in with us today. Say hi, Tracy.
Hello.
Let me hang on one second while I actually plug you in. Stand by. Always helps to do that. And we are live in 3, 2, 1. Now say hi.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Sorry about
There we
that.
go. Hello, everybody.
It works so much better when it's plugged in, when you actually push the button. I had to mute her mic because she was sneezing and blowing her nose, and I don't know what she was doing over there. She was talking to herself. She does that a lot because she's continuously in school going after her MBA right now. And she talks a lot to herself. I don't know why. I think she's going crazy, but it's good for her. She needs to go crazy. Anyway, there's so I brought Tracy in, who actually has a lot more business savvy than I have, and so it's like we're going to talk about business, and we're going to talk about what kind of businesses we are in dentistry, because it's important for you to understand that, docs, so you don't have that thought leadership of, I went into dentistry and I don't want to be price driven, when in fact we are a price-driven industry. Is that right, Trace?
That is correct. Okay,
And we have to be able to have quality and have affordable quality to be able to put in the highest of quality of products. We can't do it for free. And that's what so many dentists are realizing. Wow. In fact, one of the dentists we trained just here shortly, he made the comment that clinical research, Gordon Christensen's been telling us we're in the red every time we do composite fills. So is there a way to get out of the red and get in to the black and be affordable? And the answer to that is yes. We train on that all the time. Not to digress, but Trace, let's take off with what you and I were talking about earlier, because this is so phenomenal to me with what you were just like spewing out. These are business principles. I'm going, what? How come you've never shared this with me at Pillow Talk time? Okay, so let it fly.
Okay, so before we start, you do need to understand that there are really 4 different types of businesses that are available that are working right now. The first one's going to be what's called a pure competition. That is going to be a group of businesses that offer the same product or service, and that competitiveness is going to drive the price. We'll go into that a little bit later. The next one's going to be monopolistic competition. These are the guys that have multiple products, but they don't really focus on price as much. They want to focus more on product differentiation. They want to focus on branding and advertising in order to get ahead of the competition. Then you've got the oligopolies. These are the big guys where maybe a group of 4 are really going to be the price makers, the people who determine what the fees are going to be.
And every time I hear that word, oligopoly.
Oligopoly.
Alla hooty wuddy. Docs, pay attention. This is so important for you to understand. You know, these are business principles you've got to know. Keep going, sorry.
No problem. So then we've got the last group, which is going to be the monopoly. These are the price makers. These are the ones that definitely determine how much things are going to cost. So having said that,
can we start out with the monopolies and work backwards?
Oh, sure we can, absolutely.
Since that's from my point of view, that would be like make more sense to me as a dentist.
Absolutely.
And we think backwards.
So when I think of a monopoly in the dental field, I think of Delta Dental. And I hate calling them out like that, but it is a regional or a geographic monopoly that they have going on right now because of their size. They are able to decide what the price will be with reimbursement and with premiums.
Well, and yeah, but that's in the Northwest.
The Northwest, absolutely.
We've seen that in Montana, Washington, Oregon. Because Delta Dental started out up there.
Absolutely.
And so they had that monopoly out the get-go, but we're also seeing Delta Dental trying to take over. They're very strong in other parts of the country,
absolutely.
too.
Well, and you have to realize that monopolies don't have to be across the nation. It can be a geographic deal with monopoly.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah, geographic. Gotcha.
Yep,
okay.
Absolutely. So then we got the oligopolies, which for me, I think of the big guys being more the insurance companies, really. These are the guys that can talk to each other and can price fix in a sense. They can determine the price that gets reimbursed based on that collusion that happens, unfortunately. They also can be DSOs if they're geographically focused. They, can turn into an oligopoly if it is a specific location. Then we go. I'm gonna skip this monopolistic competition. I'm gonna go to pure competition, which is what most dentists think that they are. I've noticed a lot of dentists talking about them being in the service industry and that service being just that same product that's offered. But the problem that happens in the pure competition is when you have something that you think is the same compared to any other dentist, then you're not able to change anything with your business other than price. And that's where you get the doctors that try to outbid each other, so to speak.
So outbid each other. Let me back up. This is the doc that gives a patient a treatment plan. Mm-hmm. And then that patient goes to another practice, and let's suppose that that's our practice. They come in, and then we don't do this, but I'm just saying this is not our thought leadership. They'll come to another practice, say they came to our practice from a different practice with the treatment plan, and that treatment plan's $2,000, and we look at it and we say, oh, we We could do that for you for $1,800, right?
Exactly. And then the guy down the street will look at the same treatment plan. He'll say, $1,750,
Yeah.
right? So this competition is causing these other dentists or businesses under this specific model to drive that price down to just above the marginal revenue, how much money it really they make off of cost and revenue combined. Long story with that one.
And this goes into dental fear, which we teach at MPMB. This goes into the fact that the docs are so afraid to charge the patient a value-added service for producing for doing a higher, more expensive, using a higher, more expensive product. So they're super afraid. They fear telling the patient because they're afraid the patient might go elsewhere. So they're driven to deliver dentistry at the cheapest price possible, correct?
That is correct. And this is where I really want to focus on the other type of competition. This is monopolistic competition. This is truly where these dentists are. We just have to realize it. Monopolistic competition is when you offer multiple products. You're focusing on product differentiation and you're talking more about branding, about advertising your practice. This is where dentists absolutely fall in line. This is where you are. You are not a pure competition. You're monopolistic competition.
Well, you're pure competition if you think about yourself as a service industry only, which so many docs do.
But see, and that's where we really need to focus on the fact that your office does offer multiple products, and you need to focus on that.
And you can charge an additional fee for the more expensive products and services. You just need to know how. You need to know the rules and regulations with the insurance companies, how to do that. But I want to hit the fact that the last 5 offices we've trained, when we've looked at their fee-for-service fee, the fee-for-service fees on their top 20 procedures they've done, their fee-for-service fees that they've gotten from fee surveys from the dental suppliers, and we've looked at those fees and compared to their direct operating costs per hour, and they're upside down.
Absolutely.
That's an amazing thing when you're talking about price here. Okay, sorry, continue. I know you're going to get into that, but
Absolutely.
And I didn't try to lead into that just now because I see you eyeballing the graph.
So I encourage dentists, I encourage you to take an economics, at least a microeconomics class, because they focus a lot on pricing your products. And if you were to pay attention to marginal revenue and marginal costs, those are the big guys. How much money does it cost for you to add one more item? And how much money do you obtain by adding one more of that item? So marginal cost, marginal revenue is really the focus on this with monopolistic competition. When you find a nice number where those two numbers meet and you apply it towards the amount that people are willing to pay,
whatever the market will bear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Careful.
That will determine your fee of really what you should be doing. And so it's funny when I hear Rob say that, whatever the market will bear, you're absolutely right. Patients, when they understand what these products are, they immediately will determine whether or not they will purchase and what that fee will be. But if you don't offer it to them, you don't know.
But Rob, you're getting really nitpicky here, aren't you? When you're talking about products, there's not that big of a price difference in the products. Oh, really? We just trained an office that they are using a crown that, and I always joke about Nathadonic Laboratories, being like $650 a unit. They're using a lab that does an impeccable job, and I'm talking about internal and external staining and beautiful. I mean, lab techs have the ability to just knock it out of the park, but it takes them a long time to create that kind of a crown. And those crowns are $500 a unit. Can you imagine using a $500 crown on a $685 insurance reimbursement? Can't do it. Can't be done.
Well, I was going to say, I know of one insurance company that will reimburse $500
for the crown only. And yet that doctor gives his patients choice. They can have the $140 crown or they can have the $500 crown. And if they want the $500 crown, they will pay a premium for that crown. Is that a bad thing? No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant business principles happening right there. And one more thing I just wanted to add. When we're talking about our fee-for-service fee, we talk about how insurance fees were in the red all the time. My point is many of you don't know your DOC per hour, direct operating costs per hour, to your burn rate to run your business. And your fees, like if your burn rate to run your business is $500 an hour, and you schedule a crown from prep time to seat time to cleanup time is roughly 2 hours of total time, and your burn rate's $500 an hour, and that's $1,000 to produce that crown, and you're reimbursed $685. Now I'm talking about Utah prices. Just double those figures, and now you're basically up in other areas of the nation that are more expensive, where your cost of living's higher. But the point is, your fee-for-service fee isn't even profitable when you're charging like $900 for that unit. Or that's my whole point is like if you're, for example, our burn rate in our practice is about $650 an hour. That's $1,300 that it costs me to do a crown. And so if my crown fees are sitting at $1,100, which is the average in the state of Utah, but my burn rate's $1,300, I'm upside down. I hope the hygiene department's going at the same time, right?
Absolutely.
And even with the hygiene department going at the same time, I'm upside down. This is why dentists are working their guts out and they're not making money.
Well, and to finish this up, here's what I'd really like you docs to do, and even office managers that are listening. I think Rob gave you a great example. You really need to figure out how much money you need to make for 2 hours, which would be a crown, what you get reimbursed at, and whether or not you're upside down. Now, here's the other thing. I want you to be profitable. I don't want you to break even. I want you to add a 30% profit margin.
30% corporate profit. What a concept, huh? Hey, I want to go dive back into the monopolistic competition, though. So there's pure competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and monopoly.
Correct.
And so going back to monopolistic competition, where we have multiple products, product differentiation. So it's not just one code, one description, one fee for a crown. You're talking about what? Multiple
I'm
codes?
talking about multiple codes. And really, guys and girls, all of you guys, really focus on the fact that you are not a pure competition. So please go home and take a look at the definition of a monopolistic competition. Look at the fact that these businesses offer multiple products for different prices. They differentiate themselves based on those products. They brand, they advertise. These are all things that you should be focusing on.
Well, so I want to bring it back full circle. Task managers versus task thinkers. When you and I started talking about that, what went through your mind? And having, being an office manager, having been an office manager for multiple practices and different businesses throughout your life, what to you, what's the difference to you between a task manager and a task thinker, and what differentiates those two?
I think that personally, I keep thinking of the words, do you view these as obstacles or do you view these as opportunities? There have been people that I've come across in training where they say, no, this is the box and this is where I need to conform, and here's my checklist and I need to just mark them off and go home. But when you stop and look at it from that perspective of a new type of business model, and you look at the different cost of goods that are available, and you stop and think about how you can apply these concepts and charge for the different products and procedures, suddenly you're turning yourself into a task thinker. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because like you and I were talking about it, it's like, do we look for obstacles or do we look for opportunities? The only way to look for opportunities is to get out of the status quo and stop suffering from the NIMBY syndrome. Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. That's why I'm looking at all these wonderful office managers that we've been able to deal with for such a long time, and they're so awesome at being task managers. And then when it comes to task thinking, it's like they think about that dealing with insurance companies, but what they're not trained to do is to think about business principles, thinking about being a monopolistic competitive business and how to be profitable, because that's just, they think the doctor's doing that. I really think they think the doctor's setting those fees. Well, the doctor set the fees, they must be right. And the doc's a task manager and a task thinker when it comes to dentistry. But again, the doc wasn't trained. Most doctors are not trained in business. So they don't understand. They think of themselves as pure competition, meaning I have a product and I have the same product, and that same product is dentistry. They glump it into dentistry, and we are a service industry. And so they're taking their prices from that one vertical when they don't realize that they are a monopolistic competitive business with multiple products where there's product differentiation, and they've never been taught that they can charge the patient for that better product. They don't have to eat it. They don't have to, order the best product from the lab and just take it in the shorts. And so many office managers and doctors think that that's what you're supposed to do. And it's simply not true. We just got an email from Blue Cross Blue Shield, didn't we?
Oh,
this
that was
past week.
Best email in the whole world.
I just want you guys to know that it was the regional manager with Blue Cross Blue Shield that taught me these wonderful business principles of differentiating products and services and charging for the more expensive products and services where there's a differential cost of goods direct to the patient. And Blue Cross Blue Shield, after all these years, since 1991, here we are, 2020, they come around and they're like, "Hey, we want to see what your guys' upgrade consent form looks like." And so Tracy sends it in, and what was the result? What was the result?
So we always want to stay relevant and up to date and make sure that we're constantly keeping things relevant. And the great news was, after receiving our consent, our special consent for upgrading through the My Dental Docs system, the agent came back to me, the rep came back to me and said, "This looks fantastic." And the great thing is that she had a couple of little things that she recommended that we added just to make it better. And I told her we, in fact, did have that in there.
She thought that was the only document we're giving to the patient, but you give that in conjunction with the treatment planner from the software. And she's like, "Oh, perfect. Okay, great."
Exactly. So she was very, very happy about that. But here's the other fun thing is we do have, I know we knock the insurance companies quite a bit, but we have good relationships with them. And one thing that this person had reiterated to me was, when we submit our code, we need to submit the contracted fee.
So there's no confusion with the patient as to what they are paying for their services. Wow.
Like you said, what a concept.
What a concept. Exactly.
And so this is how cool it really has been, is just making sure that we get blessings from the insurance company, that they understand what we're doing, and that they approve that we're using the system that we have through My Dental Docs.
And it's just, that was like such a fun, those are fun things that we get to see in our company that practices, you guys, we're on the forefront of this. And we are, well, we're actually not really at the forefront, but because we've been doing this since 91, 92. But we, like Tracy said, we're staying relevant with the information that we have. And one of the things that that really interested me, that I was waiting for them to come back with, is our documents are simple. There's a couple of companies out there that have come to our intro courses, and then they've tried to copy what we do. And they have an upgrade consent form that's written by an attorney, and it's 75 pages long. Now, I'm joking, okay? It's only 2 pages long. Ours is like, what, a paragraph? and that's the problem. People that you've got to have a business background and a dental background to help out all of us in dentistry. I am in the trenches with you. Tracy is in the trenches with you, and that's why our company is having so much fun, and we have the success and the wonderful clients that we have, because we're one of you. We're not just some business company that's trying to show you things that we have nothing that they've had no experience with. They've never even been in those trenches. We're in the trenches with you guys. Task managers, task thinkers. To be a thinker, you've got to have a little bit of commensurate achievement in the educational process of what your job is. We all follow tasks. The thing that worries me is office managers who are taught to task management by the dentist. That's scary because a doc doesn't. Most docs, they don't know how to bill an insurance claim. They don't know how to attach a picture to an EOP. Let's be honest. So we throw these poor office managers in these positions and say, "Go to work, get it done." It's like without proper training. And that's what we love about what we do here at MPMB. Man, we make sure the office managers know their jobs, know how to push back with insurance companies, understand the tasks they have to do to not just bill an insurance company and push back against them and be paid on codes. Yes, that's part of our training. But how to be profitable. I saw an advertisement. Trace and I were just laughing the other day. I saw an advertisement about if you just add 14 more patients to your schedule in the hygiene department each week, you'll increase by $200,000 a year. And I'm like, are you kidding me? That's what you're saying? That's busy work. That $200,000 into our already stressed out hygiene department is not going to produce $200,000 in net revenue. Every day I look at those types of advertisements and say, it's driving me nuts. The secrets to thriving are in need-based dentistry, understanding your direct operating cost per hour, and then learning how to increase your profit margins ethically, legally, and morally, and being paid fairly for what you do each and every day, Doc. Reclaim forgotten profitability in dentistry again. That's what we teach on. Our thoughts and prayers are with all of you during this time, with the coronavirus and all of our practices being shut down. We hope that you weather this storm okay and that you come out on top of it whole again. Grateful for you listening, and until we see you guys next week, thoughts and prayers are with all of you. Thank you so much for tuning into the My Practice, My Business podcast. You can find additional podcasts you may have missed that will help you with your dental practice at Apple iTunes Podcasts. And remember to become a subscriber to our podcast. Many of you have asked how to help support the My Practice, My Business podcast. If you have enjoyed the program and information you received today, the best way to help is to leave us a 5-star review. Thanks again for allowing us to be a part of your day.